Barry Allen is back! Hello everyone and welcome to Flash Forward, the show where I talk about every Flash comic. This week we are talking about The Flash Rebirth, a 6-issue miniseries written by Jeff Johns with art by Ethan Van Sciver. This miniseries tells the story of how Barry Allen is reacquainted with the DC universe, including his friends and family, after his resurrection during the events of Final Crisis. In case you didn't know, I've read all of Barry Allen's material leading up to this, so I know a thing or two about Barry Allen. So let's see how legitimate this series is with its references and how accurate it is to Barry Allen as a character and the rest of the Flash cast, and how it retcons certain events in The Flash to fit with Barry Allen's return. I'm going to be looking at this book critically, talking about what's good and what's bad, so let's just get straight into it. The story begins with a couple of scientists at the CCPD who are investigating the death of a young girl who moved from Blue Valley to Central City to make it big, as they say. Blue Valley is a reference to where Wally West, the Kid Flash, came from, and it's also where Courtney Whitmore, the Star-Spangled Kid, or later known as Stargirl, came from as well. This is the first time anyone's ever mentioned Central City as being some kind of big city that you go to get famous. Never really saw it as that kind of place. A mysterious person holding some kind of rod with a lightning bolt on the end of it enters the room unannounced and then slashes the throat of one of the scientists. The other one tries to get help, but he gets stabbed from behind and killed. This mysterious murderer then starts grabbing all sorts of chemicals from the shelves while he talks about Barry Allen, saying that Barry knew the difference between whether or not you were guilty, and he states that Barry Allen is wrong and that everyone is guilty. Death is never the end. A couple of cops come in holding their guns, they're like, "Freeze!" And the assailant also states that lightning always strikes twice, and he gets struck by lightning while holding all of these chemicals the same way that Barry Allen was struck by lightning in his debut. We see that his face and body are enveloped with red lightning, and that his face is all skeletal-like. Still don't know who this person is, but he sends a shockwave at these two policemen, presumably killing them off-panel. Elsewhere, many people across the world are celebrating that Barry Allen is back, including Central City, the Titans, the JSA. They're all celebrating. The Rogues aren't celebrating. They have to figure out what they're going to do now that their arch foe is back. There's a cool little reference to an old Flash comic where Abracadabra grabs a Flash puppet, which is referencing to when he turned Barry into a puppet. And then we get our first major retcon in this book. Before Crisis on Infinite Earths, there was a very famous Flash issue called The Flash of Two Worlds, which was the issue where Barry Allen met Jay Garrick as he traveled to Earth 2 by accident, because originally Jay Garrick came from a different Earth. However, the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths fused Earth 2 with Earth 1. So now, in this new history, Earth 2 was never a thing, and Jay Garrick was born and raised on Earth 1. So this miniseries retcons that the Flash of Two Worlds did happen, except Keystone City was vibrated out of existence instead, and Barry meeting Jay Garrick was him finding Keystone City and bringing it back to where it was supposed to be. And in doing so, Barry inspires Jay Garrick to become the Flash again, because after Keystone City was vibrated out of existence, Jay along with it, Jay stopped being the Flash out of depression or something. I'm not really a fan of this retcon for that very reason. I think it undermines Jay Garrick as a character, the fact that he just gave up being the Flash and needed Barry to inspire him to be the Flash again. It should always be, like, it's fine for Barry to inspire Jay in ways similar to how Jay has inspired Barry, but not like this. There's just no world where I can see Jay just giving up being the Flash just because his city disappeared and he disappeared with it. It's just a way to put Barry on a pedestal, and even the JSA put him on a pedestal, because they also say that Barry inspired a lot of them as well. They don't really explain how, but it's just a weird way to put him on a pedestal again. I like Barry Allen, but he doesn't need to be this guy that inspired everybody to become superheroes again. Meanwhile, with the Titans, Wally's in a bit of a grumpy mood. It doesn't help that his two kids, Ira and Jai, are fighting over a piñata version of Gorilla Grodd. It feels weird seeing the two of them bicker like this, just straight up arguing, because they didn't really do that during the books that I had read previously. They were pretty good siblings. They got along very well. They had their occasional natter between each other, but they weren't at each other's throats like they are right now. And the way they're drawn, they look a lot younger than I think they're supposed to be. They're drawn almost like toddlers in this, than the ages of, I think 8 and 10 is how old they're supposed to be at this point. Ira is 10 and Jai is 8. And Wally talks about how he can't relate to his kids because they don't have super speed like him. They have other powers. And I'm like, why does that matter? Why does them not having super speed mean you can't relate to them? Just them having powers should be enough, right? You didn't show any problem relating with your kids during the Wild Wests. And then we get to Bart Allen's reaction to Barry coming back. So Bart is played off as he's supposed to be like those Wally fans that are like, oh, Barry's back, who cares about Barry? Wally's the Flash. It's really hard to tell if Jeff Johns is being sincere here or not, but it just feels like Bart is supposed to be the one in the wrong in this situation. Where he's like, I didn't even know Barry, so why would I care about him coming back? And they're like, oh, because he's your grandfather. And I'm like, why does that matter? I agree with Bart here. You know, there's no reason he should care. Like, yes, Barry is his granddad, but he never met him. As far as he knows, Barry is a stranger. So I can understand him being like, why does everyone care so much? Wally is the Flash. Barry is not the Flash. He's just written a little bit too harsh here because you're supposed to disagree with him. It's not a very good message to be giving to people. Just because somebody is related to you by blood doesn't mean you should have to care about them, especially if you don't know them. Iris West gets a call from Captain Fry, who was Barry Allen's old boss, and he needs Barry's help. This is the first time that Fry has ever been mentioned in a Flash comic since Barry's death. As soon as Barry Allen came back, Fry is suddenly a relevant character again. Barry heads to the Flash Museum, and we get a taste of something that is interesting, but nothing is really done with it, and that is Barry kind of being a man at a time. Not in the same way that Captain America is, but Barry was dead for a long time, so he's not used to people having cell phones and things like that. That's interesting. That's something you can do something with. But nothing is done with it. It's just a very quick mention of Barry being confused. But then when Hal Jordan shows up, Barry's like, oh, I'm just thinking it's great that everybody's finally caught up with me. And here is where one of the problems with this miniseries comes up, in my opinion. This series is too safe with its material and its ideas. Barry Allen has come back from being dead for many years. This is the first time he has seen Hal Jordan in years. He is learning new things about what Hal Jordan had been up to while he was dead. And none of it really affects Barry at all, even though it should. Hal mentions the fact that he was Parallax when he was a homicidal maniac who killed a lot of people. But it's brushed off as a joke. He's like, oh, it's a good thing you weren't here when I was Parallax. That was a crazy time, when I was killing all those people. How crazy was that? He also says it to Barry as if Barry is supposed to know what Parallax is. You'd think Barry would be like, what's a Parallax? But no, it's just kind of brushed off. Like, these are the things that could be interesting. Like Barry's reaction to finding out that his best friend killed a lot of people. But nothing is done with it. It doesn't matter. Even though it should. There should be some conflict with Barry's relationships with characters who have done things, maybe bad things, since he died. It takes some time for him to come to terms with it. But Jeff Johns isn't interested in writing some interesting dialogue between Hal and Barry. Instead, he just wants Hal to just constantly yap about how great Barry is and how much he's needed and that it's great that he's finally back. He even goes as far as to say that Barry was the key to defeating Darkseid during Final Crisis, which just isn't true at all. Barry was there, but they didn't need his help. They could have done it without him. They could have directed the Omega Beams to hit Darkseid without Barry's help. It's cool that he was there, but he was not necessary. They act like he was the key to defeating Darkseid when the key to defeating Darkseid was Superman. Like, it's nice that Hal and Barry have this nice moment together where they reunite, but there could have been so much more from this. Instead of it just being wrapped up within a single issue. Meanwhile, in Iowa, a couple of kids are playing together in a cornfield. They see a massive burnt trail, and when they follow it, they find the remains of the Black Flash, who is the Grim Reaper. Now, in Final Crisis, it was established that the Black Racer and the Black Flash were the same thing, so I guess the Black Racer is dead too. The question is, how is he dead, and why did he turn back into his Black Flash form? I guess we'll find out. Barry Allen talks about how his experience has taught him not to waste another second because life is fleeting, so he puts on his costume and he heads off because he's like, the world needs the Flash. And here I am. I'll never be late again. I'll hold you to that, Barry. And then we get our second biggest retcon, probably the biggest retcon in Flash history. This is the first time we see the death of Barry's mother. This was not a thing until Flash Rebirth. This was the official retcon. So we see the flashbacks of Barry as a child, seeing the police at his home, running in, finding his mom dead on the floor. His dad gets arrested and blamed for her death. He swears that he didn't do it. Barry cries to his dad as his dad is taken away by the police. We will learn a lot more about this later. Everybody knows about this. I was honestly surprised to see that it just gets added into Barry's history like this. I guess it makes sense because history has been rewritten. We just don't know that yet. And so these are just regular memories that Barry has now. It's just interesting. As Barry runs, a hand comes out of his chest. It's Savitar, an enemy of Wally. He was inside Barry for some reason. And Barry knows about Savitar's history because he went to the Flash Museum and saw his statue there. He knows that Savitar killed a lot of people and that he's guilty, so he chases after him. He grabs onto Savitar, and when he does, electricity surges through Savitar and also through Wally. Wally gets all this electricity. He starts to become electrified. He's like, ah! At the same time as Savitar. Savitar reduces to nothing but ash. And Barry's like, what the hell did I just do? Pretty disappointing return for a character like Savitar, where he just shows up and then dies immediately. Maybe we'll get some explanations, but Savitar is a very one-dimensional character. He doesn't have a name. He doesn't actually have a real name. He doesn't really have a great backstory. I always wish that this character would be expanded upon, but I guess that's not gonna happen now. In Gorilla City, the wall paintings foretell the death of Savitar at the hands of Barry Allen. Meanwhile, in the Balkan Mountains, we see Christina, who used to be a follower of Savitar. She is a follower of Savitar again. This is a problem right now with this series. Now, if you were reading this series and you'd never read any of the other stuff that this character had appeared in, you would be like, why is this such a big deal? Nobody cares about Christina. But if you've read Salvation Run, which I have read, I did a video about it, during that series, Christina was established as somebody who was not only moved on from Savitar as his follower, but was also moving on from Vandal Savage because she used to be a follower of Vandal Savage as well. And that character development has been completely disregarded. It's obvious Jeff Johns didn't even bother to read up on this character. If you're gonna be adding a character to a book that hasn't shown up in quite a while, at least go back and see what they were last in so you can see what they were up to, so you don't end up with these continuity issues where this character is just backwards with their character development. She's desperate to get Savitar back, and she sees his death at the hands of the Flash, and she cries. She's like, no! It's a little frustrating. It's not that I care about Christina as a character, it's just the fact that I care about consistency. We cut to the events moments after Savitar's death, where Barry has come to the conclusion that Savitar was vaporized from the inside out because his mask is still intact. Hal Jordan shows up and he tells Barry, hey, like, if you need my help to figure out this whole Savitar situation, just ask me. And Barry's like, it's not up to me to figure this out. Savitar was one of Wally's villains. He needs to be the one that deals with this. And I appreciate that about Barry. We have a couple of moments in this issue where Barry shows his more humble side, where he's like, no, Wally can deal with this. He believes in Wally. I like that. I like the way that Barry is being written at the moment. Everybody's treating him like a saint, but he's still grounded. Barry sees his and Iris's house and sees that a cop car is out the front. And then he gets flashbacks to when he was in the CCPD years ago. We get a couple more retcons, namely the people that are working with him at this point in time. We got Daryl Fry, we got Patty Spivot, and we got Albert Desmond, all people who did not work with Barry Allen this early. This is before Barry became the Flash. They didn't join until years after Barry became the Flash, and Albert Desmond never worked with Barry. They were friends, but only after Albert had become a criminal. Daryl is also written as a massive jerk in this. He's very much J. Jonah Jameson-esque. He's not trying to catch the Flash because the Flash doesn't exist yet, but he's just very cruel to Barry and kind of bullies him, forces him to wear a bow tie to a court meeting over Sam Scudder, the Mirror Master, where Barry has been investigating one of Mirror Master's murders. The bow tie is just a fun little reference to the fact that Barry used to wear bow ties a lot in the early Flash comics. Mirror Master gets put away, and then we get another retcon, which is Barry and Iris meeting each other for the first time before Barry became the Flash. In the comics, when Barry became the Flash, he and Iris had already been dating for a while. In this, they meet for the first time in this moment, where Iris shows up. It's very similar to the Flash movie. I think the movie was inspired by this, where Iris shows up and immediately tries to interview Barry about the death of his mum and his dad being blamed for it, which is a really bad way to meet somebody for the first time. But then it's made worse by the fact that, you know, Barry tells her that these are very personal things that he doesn't want to tell her, and then she's like, okay, then let's just go get coffee or dinner together, and he agrees. It just feels very insensitive to be like, hey, can I interview you about your dead mom and your dad and all that stuff? Oh no? Okay, then go out to dinner with me. Like, maybe you should leave it for a bit before you instigate a date. I don't know, it just makes Iris come off as quite insensitive. She doesn't even really... Like, she apologizes, but at the same time, she's like, I didn't mean to upset you. It's like, what did you think was gonna happen? You're asking a very personal thing. Why did you think he wouldn't get upset? Did you think he would just be an open book and you'd be like, yeah, here's all the details you need about my dead mom? It's then revealed that Barry Allen was investigating the death of his mother on the night that he got struck by lightning and became the Flash. Daryl Fry has come to meet with Iris so that he can find Barry Allen and get his help. Luckily for him, Barry was in the area. He shows up, shakes hands with Daryl. Daryl is just written a little bit more seriously than he was originally. By the end of the original Flash run that he was in, he had even become a vigilante and was quite a light-hearted character. He's written more as like an old curmudgeon in this, which is fine. It's just not the same character anymore. We get a really good moment between Iris and Barry during this scene. After Daryl leaves, he tells Barry about the murders going on and that he needs his help. Then he leaves and Barry and Iris have a conversation. Iris is talking about how great it is that Barry is back, and we get to see more of Barry's humble nature, where he says that it's thrown him for a loop, that everybody treats him like a saint. He's like, I'm not a saint. I've made a lot of mistakes. I don't even need to be here. They don't need me. And Iris is like, sometimes life isn't about need, Barry. It's about want. And I just like this. It's great. It just really shows how great Barry Allen is as a character, and that he doesn't see himself on a pedestal like everybody else does. Barry gets a call from Wally, and Wally explains to Barry that some accidents have been happening ever since Barry accidentally killed Savitar. The other speedsters have been getting seizures, starting with Jay, then Bart, then Irate, and Jai. There's a shot here of Beast Boy that I think looks awful. He looks like an old man here. Like, hello, I'm Beast Boy. A lightning storm has also appeared over Barry's hometown, Fallville, and so he and Wally head there to see what's going on, and when they get there, they find the remains of the Black Flash, where they state that the Black Flash was the one that was chasing them in Final Crisis, even though he was in the form of the Black Racer at the time. And then Christina shows up in order to kill Barry. She starts beating the hell out of him and Wally. My name is Christina Alexandrova, High Priestess of the Speed Lord Savitar. You murdered the man I worshipped. You'll kill us all. And if her being completely destroyed as a character isn't enough, she goes to attack Barry. He grabs her by the leg, and after touching her, she disintegrates into nothing and dies. And so not only was all of Christina's character development completely undone, but now she's dead. And then Barry starts transforming. He's like, what is it? What's happening to me? You? Barry, you're the new Black Flash. So a massive revelation that Barry Allen has somehow become the new Black Flash. Because I guess if you kill the old one, you become the new one. Something's going on with Abracadabra. It seems he's come face to face with somebody else from the future. Another magician. We can hear them talking off panel. I warned you, magician. There isn't room in this century for the both of us. Ah! Abracadabra! And then we see a bunch of flames come out, which burn the Flash puppet. I'm guessing it's supposed to symbolize Barry going from the Flash to the Black Flash, because the puppet goes from red to black. Jesse Chambers, who is the current Liberty Bell and the daughter of Johnny Quick and the original Liberty Bell. She used to go by the name Jessie Quick, but she started to lose her connection to the Speed Force and then pursued her mother's career instead as Liberty Bell. And she's starting to realize, she's like, oh, maybe it wasn't the right thing. My dad was the one who was always there for me, so maybe leaving the Jessie Quick alias behind wasn't a good thing. And our man comes over and is like, your dad would be proud of you if being Liberty Bell allowed you to get closer to your mum. Then suddenly the statues explode, a rip in the Speed Force opens up, Jessie sees her father, and her father reaches out to her and is like, my daughter, Barry, please, whatever you do, don't hurt my daughter. Tell Jessie I love her. And she's like, Dad, and then the rip closes up. I guess this is kind of retconning that Johnny Quick is still caught within the Speed Force, because there was a Flash annual that explored Johnny letting go of his daughter and moving on to the afterlife, and it ended with him, his ghost, moving on to the afterlife. But I guess we're just disregarding that, and he is stuck in the Speed Force still. And meanwhile, Barry is stuck in a giant tube so that he doesn't hurt anybody, because he's turning into the Black Flash. He's talking to Wally, while all of the superheroes around them are trying to help cure Barry. And Jay shows up and talks about how Max has been missing for a while. And Bart Allen shows up and he's like, did somebody say Max? That's who I thought came back, but it turns out it was just you, Barry. I wish it was Max who came back and not you. And then Iris shows up and Barry is like, Iris, you shouldn't be here. You're gonna get hurt. And Iris is like, you have to stop. Barry's like, I can't stop. I'm the Flash. She's like, no, not you, not the Flash. Barry Allen needs to stop. You lived for running across the roads of America, racing into parallel worlds and sprinting from the past to the future, solving crimes and stopping the bad guys. But you always took a breath. You always slowed down long enough to spend time with your friends and family. With me. And they place their hands together. And then we get a flashback of them having dinner, where Iris is like, you're late. You shouldn't keep a lady waiting. And I'm kind of like, you're a little lucky you even came here in the first place because of the whole interview situation that happened. And the moment Barry shows up, Iris is like, oh, is there anything at your job that I can do an interview on? And Barry's like, no. And it's just a bit odd that you would, be a little bit inconsiderate, trying to interview him about his parents. And then you take him out to dinner to apologize. And then the first thing you do when he shows up is try to interview him about his job. Just more personal things. And then she tops that off by giving him a present, a gift, as an apology, which is a bow tie, which is sweet. That is a sweet moment. She gives him the gift and it's a bow tie. It would have been a lot sweeter if she didn't just try to do another interview with him, but it's fine. They're just having fun. It's still sweet. Barry begins to transform further into the Black Flash. Everybody gets shot backwards by his lightning. He begins to break through the tube, but Hal Jordan grabs him with a construct. Barry tells him to get him away from everybody to safety. Wonder Woman and Superman follow Hal away with Barry, but lightning begins to strike. It strikes the construct, freeing Barry from it, and then begins running away. So Superman has to chase after him, and we get, a couple of pages of Superman chasing after Barry. Barry's just trying to get away from everybody because he thinks they'll be safe without him. Superman's trying to convince them that running away is the wrong thing to do. And inexplicably, Barry just goes from being the Black Flash to the Flash again. He just gets cured of his Black Flash energy or whatever was going on with him. They don't really explain it. I guess it's him getting in touch with the Speed Force because he travels through time. He pushes like through the sound barrier, straight through time, into the Speed Force. He begins seeing all of his past memories, his death, his trial. Which, speaking of his trial, early on, Barry talked about the fact that this is the first time he's ever felt guilty, which is a bit weird. Like, you think he would have felt guilty for killing Eobard Thawne? Like, he felt he did the right thing, but at the same time, he did feel guilty. He felt guilty. There's moments where he's talking to his parents. He felt guilty about it. And yet, Jeff Johns states that Barry hasn't felt guilty until this moment. As he's trying to run into the Speed Force, he wants to remember one thing, and that's Iris. He doesn't want to forget her, so he's constantly reminding himself, don't forget Iris, don't forget Iris. And then he forgets her, and he's like, oh, what's her name? What's her name? And then somebody tells him, he's like, your name is Barry Allen, you need to say it. Your name is Barry Allen, and her name is Iris. And Barry ends up in the Speed Force, where he comes face to face with Johnny Quick and Max Mercury, who are both stuck in the Speed Force as well. Johnny is fighting against the Speed Force because he doesn't want his daughter to be harmed. He's like, don't let him hurt her. And Barry tells him to move on and let go. And Johnny dies. He just turns into a skeleton. So now he is officially dead for real. Max grabs onto Barry's leg and Barry's like, don't touch me, I'll kill you. And Max is like, no, it's not you. It's him, the Professor. And the big reveal is that Reverse Flash is back. He's like, I've shifted you into reverse, Barry Allen. See what I've done? And yeah, that's the big reveal. Reverse Flash is back, and he was the guy that killed the two professors at the beginning and got his powers back? I don't know, I guess it's gonna be explained. Either this is a resurrected version of Eobard Thawne, or it's a version from a point in time who has traveled through time, as usual. Barry Allen and Max Mercury come face to face with Eobard Thawne within the Speed Force. Thawne begins to beat the shit out of them before revealing to them that this isn't just any Speed Force. This is a Speed Force that has been tainted by the negative Speed Force. A new Speed Force that Eobard Thawne was able to create out of nothing, really, except, I guess, his negativity. And now that Speed Force is poisoning all of the other speedsters. As he beats up Barry, Eobard Thawne reveals his face. He's got silver hair for some reason. He doesn't look anything like Eobard Thawne. Don't know if that's going to get explained. For now, he says that class is in session, and he reveals everything to Barry. That he's been behind everything. That Barry being in Final Crisis wasn't because he was supposed to help everybody with Darkseid. That was just a false message sent to him by Eobard Thawne. The real reason was to bring him back so that Eobard could give himself powers and then create the negative Speed Force so that Barry would eventually be here with Max Mercury, where Eobard Thawne can leave him to die, and then he's gonna go and mess with all of Barry's friends and families, kill them, etc. Just the stuff that Eobard Thawne is known for. Wally decides that he's going to head into the Speed Force in order to find Barry and bring him back. So that's exactly what he does. He runs straight into the Speed Force. Meanwhile, at the West House, we have Ira and Jai, where Ira and Jai are once again shown to be arguing quite often. They're written as if they mostly hate each other, which I do not like this depiction of them at all. It's very different to how they were depicted previously. Jai even calls Ira's powers stupid, which feels very out of character for him. She runs down the stairs crying and ends up running straight into Eobard Thawne, who's like, I guess you can't run through me. Is your mother home? Wally continues to run through the Speed Force, running through his memories, and Max talks to Barry, and we still get to see the issues with this book, which is that Barry is becoming the center of everything, where even Max, because Max's whole story is that he's been sent jumping through time multiple times. He would run towards a bright light and he'd end up further into the future until he eventually ended up in the present day. And now he attributes that to Barry Allen. The reason why he was jumping forward through time is so that he could get to Barry, which is kind of stupid. Max also states that he doesn't have an anchor to help him get back to Earth, even though his anchor should be Bart Allen, because he was like a father figure to Bart, and eventually it would be established that Bart is Max's anchor, or at least I assume so. They never really confirm it. I think it's just implied. Right now, Max is certain that he doesn't have one, but Barry does. He's got Iris, so he needs to get out of the Speed Force, but Barry doesn't want to leave the Speed Force without Max. Linda ends up running into Eobard Thawne. Thawne grabs both of her children and says that they are tangled up within the Speed Force. They can't use their speed, and so he's going to try and untangle the Speed Force from them and then use it to strangle them, which is pretty messed up even for Eobard Thawne. But Bart Allen and Jay Garrick arrive just in time to smack him in the face and start beating the crap out of Thawne. Thawne gets the upper hand on Jay and starts pushing him so hard that Jay catches on fire, but he is put out by Bart, and Bart then is like, "Now, you jerk!" And like punches him in the face. Like, "You're on the wrong side of this feud, boy." And then Thawne starts making fun of Bart, or like dissing him, being like, "You've got the blood of Thawne and the blood of Alan, and therefore your blood is poisoned." And Bart's like, "Well, on the bright side, at least we're only half related." Barry manages to open an exit out of the Speed Force. He's like, "Come on, Max, we gotta go." Max is like, "I don't think so. I'm too tired. I can't leave." It's like, "Look, I wasn't there for my kids, Max. For Wally and his. I wasn't there for Bart, but you were. After everything you gave my grandson, after everything you sacrificed to help him learn and grow, you're like his father, Max. You're family, and there's no way I'm leaving family behind. So come on, you still have a lot of race to run." And he grabs Max's hand. It's like, such a good moment. Honestly, I will give Jeff his roses for that. It's a great moment between Barry and Max. That final line, "So come on, you still have a lot of race to run," is so good. I just know Jeff was patting himself on the back for that. Thawne is about to kill Bart, but Wally shows up and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm here. Hey, where's Johnny? Shouldn't we save him?" And Barry's like, "Oh yeah, Thawne killed him." He's like, "What? Thawne? Thawne's back." They grab Wally's hand. Thawne is about to kill Bart. A massive strike of lightning strikes down, and Max appears in front of Bart. He's like, "The pleasure is going to be ours, Professor." And Bart's like, "Max!" Jessie is elated because she's seeing all this happen. She's like looking through the Speed Force or something so she can see it all even though she's not there. Another lightning strike strikes down. Wally appears, and then another one comes down. Barry appears. He's like, "I'm back, Thawne, but this time it's on my terms." Oh boy, this issue is a real mixed bag. Let's start off with something positive, which is the cover. It's a fun twist on the Flash of Two Worlds cover. We have Barry being beaten up by Eobard Thawne. We see Jay Garrick in the background, who is clearly exhausted, probably beaten up. And then the guy that Jay and Barry was trying to save has been crushed by a girder. Fun little dark twist. We move on to a really sweet flashback between Barry Allen and his mother, where their car has broken down on the highway. She's trying to fix the car, and Barry talks about how nobody is stopping to help them. And she's like, "Well, when people were in trouble, you can stop to help them." And Barry's like, "Yeah, I will. I'm going to." And she's like, "Yeah, sure, of course you will." She fixes the car, and they decide to head off to the coffee shop, which Barry is disappointed about because he doesn't like coffee, and even later in life, before he's become the Flash, he still doesn't like coffee, which is a characteristic that I appreciate. I think that's funny how a speedster isn't a fan of coffee. Barry talks about the fact that he never stopped because for a long time he didn't have anyone. All he had was the investigation with his mother's death, so he would just look at that all the time. But eventually he had Wally, he had Iris, he had Max, he had everybody. And now he's no longer alone. Now he no longer has to watch as life goes past him. He can move alongside it with the rest of his family. And they've all come together to fight Eobard Thawne. Jay Garrick does something really cool. He throws his hat and then he punches it, causing a massive sonic boom that hits Eobard, sending him flying through the Central City sign. Max and Bart continue to run after Thawne, where Bart tells Max that he's read every single book in the library. And then Max is like, oh, that's cool. What's your favorite one? Bart's like, none of them. And then Thawne takes this moment to say to them, hey, you know that Zoom guy? I learned a little trick from him, and he snaps his fingers, creating a massive sonic boom that hits both Bart and Max. I guess he just learnt how to do that from Zoom off panel. It was never established that he could do this until now. Now we get to a part that I hate, and that is in regards to Iray and Jai. Their powers are spasming, because Johns clearly didn't read the final run of Wally West and his family. You know, the one where their powers were spasming, their ages were going out, were going all crazy, and Wally took them into the Speed Force, drew all this evil power out of them, and it fixed them. Johns just completely ignores that, says that their powers are spasming regardless, and that the only way to fix it is for one of them to give up the Speed Force to the other one, because it turns out the fact that they're sharing the Speed Force is why their powers have been spasming. Iray doesn't want her brother Jai to hurt anymore, so she takes the Speed Force out of his body. Jai loses his powers, and Iray quote-unquote fixes her powers, so now she's gone from intangibility to just being a regular speedster, which I'm not really a fan of. I like the fact that Wally's kids had different abilities to him. Now she's just another speedster. And Jai is nothing. He's just Jai now, which sucks. Jessie Quick shows up to help Iray, 'cause she passes out after doing her little Speed Force thing with Jai. Something that is pretty cool is that while they're fighting Eobard Thawne, the Flash cast are all saving people. So Thawne picks up a car with somebody in it, and Bart quickly grabs the person out of the car and saves them. Jay throws his hat at Thawne, but Thawne catches it and kicks him in the face. But then Jessie and Iray show up, revealing Iray's new powers. Jessie kicks Thawne straight in the face. The whole group unites together, and Wally's like, hey guys, I have a new ability, or I have ability that you don't know about, but if we all run together, think of your costume. And then he uses his powers to give everybody the costume that they're thinking of. This is a reference to the fact that Wally at one point went into the Speed Force and then created his own costume out of the Speed Force. So he's done that for everybody. He made a brand new costume for himself, which is his best costume, the one that has the cow. Jessie is now back as Jessie Quick with that costume, but the biggest detail here is Iray. She has a very different costume. She has the Impulse costume because she's now Impulse, which is another thing that I'm not really a fan of. I'm not really a fan of just shoving her into that persona instead of her creating one for herself. Especially because I liked the costume that she had before. But I guess now that Jai doesn't have powers anymore, they can't do like the whole orange-yellow twin costume thing anymore. I'm still getting used to the fact that Iray is drawn to be so young here compared to her prior appearances. So they all beat up Thawne together, and Thawne is like, hey, Did you ever wonder why your kid's ages spasmed, or why Iris never ages, or why you never age or don't seem to age? It's because the Speed Force is youth. So it's like John saying, like, yeah, if you're connected to the Speed Force, you age slower than most people do, which doesn't really explain why Wally aged so much. He went from 8 years old to, like, what, 26 years old at this point? Eobard then makes another revelation to Barry. She's like, remember when you broke your arm in the 6th grade, falling down the stairs? Do you remember the electrical fire that burned down your first house in Fallville? Or the day you moved to Central City and you left the back door open, your dog ran out and got hit by a car? What if every bad thing that happened to you was orchestrated by one person? By an enemy you hadn't even made yet? I opened the door, Barry. I started the fire. I pushed you down the stairs. Barry starts to think about the death of his mother. You did it, didn't you? You son of a bitch. Yes. I murdered your mother, Barry. And so we get the needle drop, the massive reveal that Eobard Thawne killed Barry's mother, which everybody knows about. I mean, this is a meme at this point. He gets a bit sadistic with it, though. He's like, "Oi, she fought. Oh, how she fought. You're lying. You lived a life where you watched your parents grow old together, but that's gone now, Barry. It's gone forever. I've learned through experience you can't change the past, because you've tried. I know you've tried, but thanks to my Speed Force, I can. But there are some things that haven't changed in this new life of yours. What was it you kept chanting to yourself? As long as I remember Iris, I'll be alright? I'm gonna take her from you in every way, Barry, before you two ever married, before you even dated. She's going to die." Eobard smacks him in the face, "And you're going to forget her." Barry, it dawns on him what Eobard is going to do, and we cut to Iris in the past buying a bow tie. She asks for it in red. This is the same bow tie that she gave to Barry at their date. And we see Eobard, and he says, "As long as I kill Iris, everything will be alright." I don't know why he thinks this, because the last time he killed Iris, it didn't end well for him. And this is, I'm assuming, a resurrected Eobard with all of his memories. He would remember doing that. But I guess he thinks, second try is a charm? Barry Allen tries to push his way through the Speed Force in order to stop Eobard Thawne from going back in time and killing Iris. Wally comes to his side and helps him, and together they run through the Speed Force. We see Iris leaving with the bow tie that she bought for Barry as lightning strikes above her. Eobard Thawne is about to kill her, but Barry and Wally arrive just in time to stop him. They chase after Eobard, where he tries to egg Wally on by saying that one of his kids is going to ruin his life when they get older. I don't know if that was something that Jeff had originally planned, because he does do a Flash run after this. It just doesn't last very long because Flashpoint happens. Barry pushes Eobard through the Speed Force, through time. We see a couple of flashes of events that have happened in Eobard's life. One interesting one is a Black Lantern Eobard Thawne or Barry Allen. I don't know who it is. Blackest Night is coming up soon, so we'll keep that in mind, because that'll be important. "We have our lightning rods, but you never got yours. Until now." Barry and Wally push Eobard Thawne into the tube that Barry was caught in before. They turn it on, and it extracts the negative Speed Force from Eobard Thawne, depowering him, and then they're able to just send him away to prison. And Barry's like, now that that's done with, let's just get back to what we were doing before. And they hold the Flash Parade, everybody's there celebrating, it's all a happy ending for everybody. And then we get to see what happens to everyone after Eobard's defeat. He's in prison, and Hunter Zolomon is like, "Hey Eobard, if you're listening, I got a little proposal for you." Again, I don't know if this goes anywhere. I guess we'll find out Jeff has a limited amount of material before Flashpoint happens, so I doubt this storyline goes anywhere. Same with Abracadabra. He talks to Eobard Thawne about how he's gonna get his revenge against him because Eobard was the one who knocked him out earlier. But I'm pretty sure this doesn't really go anywhere. Maybe it does. I guess we'll find out. One that I do know does go somewhere is the Rogues saying that they have something in case Flash comes back, which is break glass. This will directly lead into the first arc of Jeff's Volume 3 of The Flash. The one that he did with Francis Manapul that we will be covering sometime in the future. Barry returns to CCPD, sets up his office, and then he reunites with Iris. They've decided to keep the lightning rod that Eobard had, which was a little bit of a reference to all of the Flashes having lightning rods. I guess this was Eobard's rod the entire time, was a literal one. Barry and Iris have a lovely moment together. When I was free from the Speed Force by Thawne, it felt like every second I had left was slipping away like a clock counting down. I felt like I couldn't waste any time, and I ended up wasting it all. I was moving so fast, I missed the Reverse Flash, the truth behind the Speed Force. I shut myself off from Hal and Wally, and most important, you. No matter how fast I move, time's going to keep ticking away. Time doesn't stop. Time won't ever stop. But when I'm with you, Iris, when I'm with you, it feels like it does. And then we see a lovely photo of Barry and Iris on their wedding day, and in the reflection of the photo, we see the two of them kissing. Lovely stuff. And then we cut to a Welcome Back Barry party at the Justice League of America headquarters. The little cake and everything. Oliver gets smacked over the back of the head because he cut some of the cake out before everybody got there. And then somebody whizzes past. It's like, hey guys, sorry I'm late. And Barry has arrived to his party, late as always. And that's the end of The Flash Rebirth. My feelings on this series are mixed, similarly to how I felt about Green Lantern Rebirth. I've made my feelings on that series quite clear. I liked this more than Rebirth because I don't think it was as egregious as Rebirth was, but it still has that same problem of Jeff Johns retconning things just to fit the narrative that he wants to tell, and it's done half-assedly. If you're not familiar with a lot of the Flash's history and you haven't read everything, this series, it's very easy to read it and be like, this is a great series. But if you have read everything like I have, that's when the issues begin to crop up, and it's hard not to see them. Issues with Ira and Jai. Some of the retcons to Barry Allen's history, like the death of his mother and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the ideas in this miniseries just felt half-baked. It's like Jeff had something and he didn't take it all the way. He didn't quite get there. You know, especially with that conversation between Hal and Barry. The stuff with Black Flash Barry, that's just another part of this miniseries that felt rushed, where Barry just stopped being the Black Flash because he ran. Honestly, if it wasn't for the reboot that was going to happen not long after this, I would say that this is probably a good starting point for The Flash. But the reboot did happen, and so this is not a good starting point. It's not a good jumping on point for The Flash. Honestly, it's one of the worst jumping on points for The Flash, since it doesn't really go anywhere. But we'll get to that eventually. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week for Blackest Night. That's right, we are starting the Blackest Night crossover. I will be covering all of Blackest Night, including the tie-ins. It's going to be a long one. We're going to be in the world of Blackest Night for a little while. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you look forward to it, and I'll see you then. Have a good one.